Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Barely Legal Podcast.
They demand my alter ego, but I won't go.
Back today with Joe Redner. So, specifically, what I'm getting into is the brewery and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I have no expertise in breweries.
How did you get into
No.
that?
Well, I'm sitting in my office. I'm not doing anything every day. But I go to my office, and my son came to me and he said, "You got this this
I
empty
mean, you own a
building here."
big acreage behind the Dale Mabry, behind the
Right.
Mons, the club.
Well, kind of off on Spruce
Yeah, like a
Street.
little bit
Yeah,
further
where
down.
Cigar City is now. Right.
How
That's
much area, how
that's
much
my
land do you have
property.
there?
I don't.
You
You
don't
ask
know.
me numbers again.
Numbers and dates, sorry. So, anyways, let's go ahead with the brewery.
So I still own the property, but him and I sold the business, and he went back to work for them with some pretty good conditions.
Sure.
He has very good conditions.
But this was his idea, and he approached
Came
you
to
about
me
it?
and said, "You got this? Let me put a little brewery in here." And I said, "I love it. I've got nothing going on except the Mons right now, and I need something to get my attention because I got that settled.
That's figured out. You don't need to put
Yeah.
your attention
I
towards
just
it
got to
anymore.
make sure, just once in a while, tell people how it's supposed to be when they get off the track. But
Sure.
otherwise, it self runs itself. Each shift has a manager. That manager has the authority. They run it. So I have 3, 4 different managers. They've been there for 20, 25 years each. So these females run it very well. So
Right.
I don't. So anyway, over at that place, he came to me and he said, "I want to build a small brewery and I need an investment." And I said, "Okay." And here's why. I did get a gym. I had a gym over on Howard over in Hyde Park
Okay.
called Extreme, and he. Anyway, had that gym there, and he. So I was in my gym. In my gym, I was every day getting on the bike for an hour,
Hmm.
and I was reading the newspaper one day, and there was Joey in the newspaper. I didn't know he was doing that stuff. He's in the newspaper. He's got a column. It's a beer column,
Right.
and you can read it, and he knows what the hell he's talking about.
Yeah.
So I asked him, "How did you get into that?" He says, "Well, I was complaining about something that the guy said because he brewed beer at home.
Right.
I was complaining about something the guy said and say his facts were wrong. He had it wrong. That had wrote a column in the paper
Sure.
for a beer, and they told him, so, well, if you think he's got it wrong, write your own column, send it in." He did. They loved it. And every other week he had a column in the paper. And you could tell he knew what he was talking about. That's one thing. I don't know what you're talking. I may not know what you're talking about. I'll know if you know whether you're talking,
Sure. Yeah.
know what
Right.
you're talking about.
So,
I thought this is a hell of an opportunity. He's smart. He knows what he's doing.
right.
And we started that brewery, and within like 8 years, it was a $100 million brewery.
And how long did you own it for?
About 7, 8 years.
Okay. Yeah. Because I mean, it's so big now. Our office is in Tampa Heights, and Tampa Heights, Seminole Heights. It's really getting to be a thing. They do beer tours and brewery tours
Oh,
and all this
yeah.
other stuff. So,
So
have you ever been to Asheville, North Carolina before?
yeah, we went up there. We were looking for places to put a brewery.
Because that's like the Napa of breweries.
Joey and I were,
Right.
and we took a whole group of Cigar City employees up there,
Uh huh.
and we found a piece of property. We were going to do it, and Joey got so scared of debt.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he just didn't want any debt, and Anheuser-Busch came along, made him a big offer on the brewery, and he kept negotiating, and then this other company, Fireman Fund, blah, 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 and it started at $60 million. We were doing 60,000 barrels a year.
Oh my God.
60,000 barrels a year equates to $1,000 a barrel in
How many employees did you
things.
have
So
there?
it was worth, according to all things, it was worth 60 million. Well,
Oh my
anyway, not Anheuser-Busch, Fireman's Fund people came in and offered $100 million, almost double what the real value was.
Right.
But they knew what they were doing because the brand had established, all over the country and in Europe, the brand had established.
Sure.
This company's going to be worth $1 billion in a few years. And I told Joey, please don't do this. He was the majority. Please don't do this. But he didn't want to take on any debt to expand, and you got to expand. So he sold, and then I went and bought Florida Avenue Brewing, and actually started with Anthony Derby, started Brew Bus Brewing.
So the brew bus, that's what I wanted to ask you about.
So
That's still going right now,
Yeah,
right?
we have the brew bus, and it operates out of what we call the terminal, which is Florida Avenue Brewing's building on Tampa, Florida Avenue.
So, talking with people who know you, one of the things that comes up a lot is they talk about how, sometimes in the media you get vilified, but how little the media focuses on the good stuff that you do in the community and the people that you employ. So the question I was asking you earlier is, how many employees did you have at Cigar City when it was at its peak?
I don't know.
So I mean, you've employed hundreds of people,
Oh,
thousands
yeah.
of people at any given time.
Oh yeah.
Are you
Yeah,
involved
well,
with any
I
charities
think-
or anything like that?
Well, I'm random. I'm really random about that. I gave $100,000 to Pam Iorio and Big Sisters, Big Brothers, or something. One
Sure,
of those
yeah.
groups, and I just give. I give Kelly. Was going to just the other day. He come to ask me. He went to the thing in Europe for not the economy, the ecology, the taking care of our
Climate and all
climate,
that.
climate
Yeah.
change, and he went for that summit, and I gave him some money so he could go there. He comes back, he reports on it,
Right.
on the internet.
Right.
So I give. I can't even tell you. I don't. It's something I do on the spur of the moment, and I just.
No design, just if it strikes you as a good cause, you do it.
And I don't remember,
Right.
but I remember every bad thing I've ever done.
That's kind of how life works out. So, so at some point, your health takes a turn. When was that?
Oh, that was in '81.
Okay.
I mean 2011.
Okay.
81.
No, it's fine.
whatever.
I keep doing the dates thing to you.
That's all right. That was in 2011. I was in Vegas at the Gentlemen's Club Expo,
Okay.
and which all the club owners meet there
Sure.
once a year.
How are you treated there? Are you somewhat of a hero to all those people?
Yeah, I'm the
You're the big
well,
star of the show.
I'm an old timer.
Sure.
And, I'm that guy they look at and say he started this stuff.
Yeah. So, were you diagnosed out there, or you were?
No, I came back. I was in pain. I couldn't leave my bed. It kind of went away. It was through my chest and my back, and I had to sit up in the bed and flew back. I went to my doctor. He said, go take this scan. I told him what was going on. Go get the scan. I went and got the x-ray. It showed that I had cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So then he set up an appointment at Moffitt, and I went right over there, and they started working on me.
What did you do? Did you do chemo, radiation?
I did the most aggressive chemo you can do. Yeah, they gave me that stuff because I was healthy.
Sure.
I'm a raw vegan, and I was a raw vegan before that, and I take care of
Wow,
my health.
Didn't even ask about that.
I exercise every day. Every day I exercise before I came over here in my little gym.
At your house or
No, at my office.
Okay.
Now, I have an office in a big, the old Sears building across the street from Cigar City.
Yeah, I saw it. It says Redner Enterprises.
Enterprises,
Yeah, I saw that the other day. So you have a gym in there?
I have a little gym in there.
When did you get into the veganism?
That's another thing. Common sense just told me this. You forget all this other stuff. You gather knowledge your whole life. That's
You're
what you
listening,
do.
sure,
That's
yeah.
all you do. You're an people are information gatherers.
Yeah.
That's what your brain is for.
Right.
So you take in all this information. That some of it may be about health and how you eat and stuff like that. And and over 30, 35 years, you get a picture
Yeah.
of how things are. And I just found out that, if I want to be healthy and live a whole long time, talking like Trump, live a long time, that I had to change my eating habits.
Right.
And I did, and I quit drinking. Oh, I got to tell you this, too. I quit smoking, quit drinking, quit doing drugs. I quit everything all at one time.
How did you ever feel that you handled stress poorly in your life? Because if I'm looking at the causes of cancer, you've got sugar, Obviously, the
I know
alcohol's got the sugar in it. You got
Yeah.
smoking and you got stress.
Sugar's bad for you. There's no doubt about it. Sugar feeds cancer. Yet out there at the Moffitt, when you're sitting there getting your chemo, they'll bring you ice cream. And I
Yeah.
would scream at them, "What are you, crazy?"
Yeah.
They got mad at me because the people around me were all eating ice cream and they were
Right.
getting their friggin' chemo.
Right.
And so, you crazy? Sugar feeds cancer. Well, they didn't have absolute proof of that. So they would say, "We don't know."
Yeah.
Now they say it feeds.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I knew.
Yeah.
If it, my common
And that's
sense
the
told
booze
me.
too, because a lot of the booze has got
All
the
of
sugar in it.
So
Yeah.
I quit everything. I don't drink.
But what about the stress? Because that's as in my practice of law.
Nah, I know what caused my cancer.
Oh, okay. What was it?
Every morning, I told you I was a raw vegan.
Mm-hmm.
In the morning, I fix a drink. In the drink, I put nuts, orange, apple, banana, grapes, peach, strawberries, raspberries, blueberries. I put it all in there. I mix it up, and I drink it in the morning.
Right.
Almonds, pecans, and walnuts in it. And when I'm peeling the orange over my sink every day, I'm taking that orange peel because as doing this, I smelled the orange peel because you're squeezing it and that stuff is spraying out. And I love the smell of it. So I would just take one of the peels, bend it over, put it up to my nose and snort it.
Uh-huh.
I loved it, the smell. And I deluded myself into somehow thinking that it was therapeutic.
Right.
It is,
Aromatherapy or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's acid.
Right.
Every day, 7 days a week, religiously, I'm putting acid into my lungs.
Right.
It's a cleaning agent. You know that.
I know that it's an ingredient. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So that's what caused my cancer.
Okay.
The cancer, it had grown through my lung onto T10
Okay.
on my spine.
Did you have to do any surgeries?
No surgeries. That after a while, I quit doing that, of course, snorting that stuff.
Sure.
Because I'm trying to figure out what the hell caused this. I'm so healthy. I know that I did something to cause this cancer.
Right.
So I started figuring. That's the only thing I could figure. Well, almost immediately my cancer started receding. They didn't, it was not something was really apparent, but now you look back and you know. My cancer started receding, and I went to MD Anderson for a second opinion. They took an X-ray there. They looked at it. They had the old X-rays from here in Tampa from Moffitt, and they looked at it and they told me and showed it was because it shows up as a light on your scan.
Mm-hmm.
The cancer is really
like an
bright.
MRI or yeah, sure.
It's really bright. Because that sugar, they put futrose into your blood. Sugar goes to the
Goes
cancer.
right to
That's
it.
how I knew that it wasn't good for you. It fed the cancer. They use it to in their diagnosis.
Right.
So they.
You said you started to figure out what it was, and when you stopped doing it, started to recede.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
It started to recede, and they showed me, and it was a lot dimmer.
Sure.
And they said, whatever you're doing in Tampa, whatever they're doing, keep doing it.
Right.
There's nothing we can do for you to get these kind of results.
Right.
So that, and then I come back, and they were going to have to go into my lung because I got some fluid on my lung early on.
Mm-hmm.
They were going to have to go into a needle, and I went to Moffitt, and they were X-rayed me, and I started to go down to the place where they were going to put the needle in and draw the liquid out of my lung. And they said, no, it's not necessary. It's disappeared.
Wow.
So I'm on chemo and radiation, though.
Right.
It could have been that.
Had you started the marijuana, the any of that stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Yet? Okay.
Yeah, I started that. As soon as I knew I had lung cancer, I quit smoking marijuana.
Okay.
And I started making my own marijuana oil.
Right.
My friends in California sent me the marijuana. Sent me the marijuana, and the U.S. mail is the biggest transporter of marijuana in the
And
world.
what year was this? I know I'm asking you dates, but
Yeah.
just how long ago was it? Is this 10 years ago?
This was in
5 years ago? 6 years ago?
2012.
Okay. All right. Because now you can't drive 5 feet down the road without CBD oils everywhere.
Yeah,
and
no, there was no
everybody's-
CBD oil.
There's no CBD oil, and everybody's got a license or whatever. But I don't think any of that had been around yet by the
No,
time.
there's no. We hadn't voted on this. We didn't have an amendment in 2014. Is when they said put in the low THC marijuana for epilepsy,
Right.
and that was the legislature that did that before the amendment, and that was in 14. So this is way before that. But anyway, I would make the oil. You put butter, you a pot,
Mm-hmm.
and you fill it up with water.
Okay.
You put butter up, melt butter on the top. It stays on the top. You put your marijuana in there. You boil it. You boil it for takes a couple of hours. The active ingredients in marijuana, the good stuff, goes into the butter. The
Okay.
transport goes into the butter, and you use the butter for whatever you use butter for, or just eat it,
Uh-huh.
and it'll get you high. And I don't know if it was helping to cure the marijuana. It could have been. I mean, cure
cancer,
the
yeah.
cancer. It could have been, but I'll tell you what it did. I don't think I could have done the chemo.
It helps you with the pain and the.
It just relaxes you. Chemo puts you in a state that you can't believe. You don't want to be there.
Well, like I told you before the show, I've buried both my parents within
Yeah,
the
you
past
do know
year.
that.
I lived through it with both of them, and I don't know if it's regret or guilt, but I look back on maybe what could have been if they had, tried something outside the narrow lane of what
Yeah.
traditional medicine prescribes.
I got to fight. I'm sorry. When something comes at me, I got to fight. I'm not rolling over. I'm going to do everything in my power and some things that may not even work to try and fix it.
So this case,
Right.
let's talk about the case a little bit.
Case.
The case on growing your own medical marijuana.
Oh, yeah. Well, they passed the amendment,
Okay.
and I got the amendment, and I read it. And as far as I'm concerned, the amendment says that I can possess a plant growing or not and the seeds thereof. Now, let me tell you how I get to that point. I am a medical marijuana patient. I have a recommendation from a certified physician for fresh marijuana plants to be administered to treat my stage 4 lung cancer. Article X, Section 29 of the Florida Constitution states in part, the medical use of marijuana by a qualified patient in compliance with this section is not subject to criminal or civil liability or sanctions under Florida law. Okay, so you're immune. They can't prosecute you, can't do anything to you, according to the Constitution of the state of Florida. The amendment also states marijuana has the meaning given in Section 893.023 Florida Statutes 2014. That statute happens to be the statute that criminalizes marijuana.
Sure,
so
yeah.
they got every way marijuana can be described or packaged or anything in that statute. Let me read the statute to you. Florida Statute 893.023 says, cannabis means all parts of any plant of the genus cannabis, whether growing or not, the seeds thereof, the resin extracted from any part of the plant, and every compound, manufacture, salt, derivative, mixture, or preparation of the plant or its seeds or resin. So they would arrest me for possessing a plant growing or not and charge me under the statute,
Right.
right? So, and now they say that doesn't mean I can have it now that it's the statute that says what you can have instead of what you can't have, right? Medical use, the thing that I am immune for doing, the medical use of marijuana.
Sure.
Medical use means the acquisition, possession, use, delivery, transfer, or administration of an amount of marijuana not in conflict with department rules. I mean, I can do anything with marijuana. I can administer it. That means give it to yourself.
Right.
I can possess a plant, growing or not, and the seeds thereof. Actually, I can use it. I can deliver it. I can transfer it. I can acquire it. That's all in the amendment. The rules of applying a constitutional amendment are thus. That's one of them. If constitutional language is clear, unambiguous, and addresses the matter at issue, it must be enforced as written, and the courts do not turn to rules of constitutional construction. If it says that, that's the law. And those judges don't have any right to override that. They are inferior. The Supreme Court of Florida is inferior to the Constitution. It has to be that way, or the Constitution has no value whatsoever. If they can take the words and change it, you don't have a Constitution. You're not free. That means some 7 Republicans on the Supreme Court of Florida can say what your rights are, and they shouldn't have that power. They can only say what the Constitution says your rights are.
Right.
So anyway,
So what's the state of it right now? Where are you at?
the Supreme Court ruled against me on home grow.
So is that it?
So I sued them to home grow. I won in the lower court where we got to present the evidence, of course,
Sure.
all this.
Right.
She ruled our way because that's what the evidence says, and that's what the Constitution says, and that's what the way it is.
Sure.
And the appellate court overruled it without really reading it. And in the oral arguments, I had a lawyer, went up there. We had what do you call it when your lawyers have these trials, these run-throughs? You run through it, and then before you do it.
Sure. Yeah.
So anyway, we got this lawyer up there in my office, and he keeps trying to do it his way. When we were in the trial court, we had a PowerPoint, and everything was written for him to say.
Right.
The way we wanted it done.
When you're saying we, who are we talking about?
Me, Jeff, Adam, and Kyle.
Who are Jeff, Adam, and Kyle?
You met Jeff out there. Kyle's my son,
Okay.
and Jeff out there, and Adam is our other partner.
Okay.
Right now, he's down with the city of Tampa.
Partner in what?
Marijuana growing.
What's the name of the business?
Floor grow.
Okay.
Floor grown. So, what was I saying?
So you had it spelled out for the way the lawyer you wanted them to argue.
He
it.
wanted to argue.
Sure.
Yeah, he went up there. He argued it. It was up on a board. He'd read from the board, and we made our argument. And Judge Gevers, was quite a judge. He's retired now, and so the appellate court listened to the arguments and wrote the arguments of the state.
Right.
Our lawyer did not. He did not. And anyway, in these run-throughs, he would go off on his tangent when
Right.
just like he did in front of the Supreme Court.
Right.
The appellate court. He would go off on his tangents, and we would stop him. I would. In fact, I was hollering at him, "Don't do that." When they ask you a question, you say, and I told them what to say. You say the amendment says, and you read it to them. And you do it over and over again because they don't know what the hell it says, and they don't care.
Right.
And he never did it one time. And I'm in that audience, and I'm going to scream.
Was this earlier this year or last year?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was earlier this year.
Okay.
I have a penchant for that. I sometimes
You got that fire in your belly.
I just
Yeah.
where I'm not supposed to say anything.
Sure.
And it's really you can get in serious trouble saying
Yeah,
something.
I've seen
I
it.
blurt it out.
Right.
Man, I was putting my hat on. I was taking it off. I was in so much stress when he was arguing that thing, and the appellate court wrote exactly what
The state
the
said.
state said.
Yeah. Was this right up here at the second DCA, or was this in Tallahassee? or-
Tallahassee.
Okay.
Judge Rice here, she's another piece of work. The case law on where you can file the case if it's a state agency
Right.
is you have to file in Tallahassee unless where you file it is where you would be arrested if you violated the law.
Okay.
If I violated the law, I would be arrested in Tampa, Florida, in Hillsborough County, 13 Judicial Circuit. She would not rule that way. She didn't want the case. She said, no, you have to go to Tallahassee, so I had to travel to Tallahassee.
Okay. So is it dead now? I mean, is that it, or what's the next step?
My next step
Yeah.
is to grow some marijuana as soon as I get some seeds. I've already grown some
Okay.
and ate it.
Okay.
But, marijuana is a plant that once you pick it, it dies. It's
Sure.
not like an
The
apple
active
tree.
ingredient doesn't stay
It's
around.
not
that
like
long.
no, the plant dies.
Right.
It's not like an apple tree. You pick all the apples off
It
an
grows
apple
more
tree,
apples.
it grows more apples.
Sure.
A marijuana plant dies.
Sure.
What they call it, millennial.
Sounds right.
Yeah.
I'm sure you know more about it than I do.
And so Yeah, but when I ask you a question, it's because I don't.
No, that's fine.
I'm just,
I don't know, but
I'm
it sounds
going
right to
from
me.
memory, and it's not
Yeah.
very good. Um, so what was?
I asked where the case was at now. You said I'm going to grow a plant and grow
Oh,
some
oh
seeds in it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna grow a plant. I'm gonna take it down there. I may not do it exactly this way. Put it on Warren's desk
Hmm.
and say, arrest me. I want to go to a jury trial. I don't believe that they can get a jury of 6 people, knowing that 71% of the people of Florida that voted for medical marijuana. I don't think they can get 6 jurors. You know that they got to have a unanimous verdict.
Yeah.
You get one and you win.
Hmm.
Just one juror, you win. I don't think they can get 6 of them to convict me. I am and I've done this before on the lewd and lascivious. I am a stage 4 lung cancer patient. I've also had prostate cancer. I even have a cyst on my kidney right now, which I'm going to get taken care of very shortly. So I don't believe they can get a jury to find me guilty of taking my medicine. And I'm willing to put myself on the line to do that. That's my right. I have a right. It's in the Constitution. Freedom is one of the things I value the most, and I know if they can take the plain language of the Constitution and bastardize it, I have no freedom and I have no rights. So there you are.
So you mentioned Trump a little bit ago, and politically, it seemed like the direction the country and the state was heading was going to be more pro marijuana. But then once Trump got in office and his AG was kind of anti, it seems like it started to go the other way. I think it's only a matter of time. I mean,
Of course.
but what are you seeing, or what's your view as
No,
far as that goes?
the people are speaking
Right.
every day. You know, there's a state where they're forcing their legislators to legalize marijuana in one form or another, and for recreational or medicinal use, and they're forcing the state to do what they're doing. Also, this new hemp, when they legalized hemp, they had no idea what they really were doing.
Right.
I mean, it's a good thing. Hemp is a medicine too, and
Oh, when you go back to the history, I
and
mean,
it's
was
good.
it the Declaration
But
or one of them
yeah,
written on the?
you had to grow hemp.
Sure. Yeah.
During the Revolutionary War. You had to grow hemp.
Right.
Any landowner that grew had to grow hemp. State made them. The government made them.
I feel like DeSantis is softer on it than Scott was, but maybe that's maybe
Nah,
I'm
that
wrong.
was John Morgan up there feeding some stuff in his ear. He said what John Morgan wanted them to say, and now he's gone completely some
Rogue.
other way. These
Yeah.
people are all people. They say one thing and do another.
Do you and John at all work together on any of this,
No.
or no relationship
No,
there?
he's as far as I'm concerned, John is for the big operators. He doesn't want people to be able to grow at home. He says he gives lip service to it, but the amendments that he's backing, the new amendments that he's
Sure.
backing, they don't give the right to people to grow at home. So,
So it's a commercial.
and there
thing.
is one that he doesn't back that does give people the right. So he's backing the ones that are in all the dispensaries in the city of Tampa or all over the state.
Okay.
He's backing that one, and he's one of them.
Right. Right.
And he's not that for grow at home is not for the people that are suffering that can't get their medicine. And I mean, there are people out there suffering that would grow it in their yard. Look at that one lady, and I can't think of her name. She actually has a medical necessity exemption given to her by an appellate court in Florida, which seems to me that should win the case in the Supreme Court of Florida.
Right.
Medical necessity, and she grows her own marijuana, and she's been supposed to die for 10, 15 years now, and she
Right.
just goes on and on and on and on, and she can't hardly walk. And I mean, it's a great thing watching this stuff work on her. And she got a medical exception. She was convicted, and the appellate court ruled she had a medical exception.
So, not to get too conspiratorial, but I mean, what do you think is at play here on a bigger level? Is this just capitalism? They want
In Florida,
make money off of pharmaceuticals, or they want to be able to regulate and make the money off of marijuana? Is that what the pushback is about?
the Republicans in Florida are all for, they claim to be free enterprise people. They are absolutely not for free enterprise. They are for their buddies, their supporters getting all the action.
Now, but do you think marijuana is viewed as an opponent to pharmaceutical? I mean,
I think the pharmaceuticals
do,
view it as an opponent. Yeah, of
and
course.
that's where a lot of the money's going towards
Well,
for
there's
politicians who are
statistics.
running.
There's statistics around the country that where medical use of marijuana and recreational use is prevalent, that opioid use goes down. That's a
Right.
fact. That's
Right.
not. You may not be able to say causes it to go down. It's may not be causal, but certainly is correlated,
Sure.
and it is.
Sure.
So, of course, the pharmaceutical companies are against. I mean, these are $1 billion a year
And
industries.
probably the biggest donors to a lot of these people running
Oh,
for office.
well, you know that. Anytime something doesn't make sense in the government, you can just figure it's the people who have an interest to make money off it, paying off the legislators.
Right.
That's why I couldn't figure out why I couldn't get elected. I don't have a bone like that in my friggin' body.
Right.
I could not take a bribe. I could not take money to do something that I think is wrong. It just, and I know I'm a good judge of what's right and wrong.
Sure.
And I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't get in office. I don't know why. I just couldn't get people to vote for me.
Have you given up on that now, or would you like
Well,
to go back?
I'll be 80 next year. So,
You're pretty sharp.
well, yeah.
And is
but-
the cancer in remission, or what's the
yeah,
status?
yeah. It's like I said. It's all, I think it's gone.
Yeah.
But that's that. But the medical industry doesn't think that. They think,
Well, they'll never tell you it's
it's-
all the way gone because. Yeah.
well, they got to make a buck. I go now every year. I was going every 6 months. I was going 3 months right at the beginning, and they were for the chemo, and they would X-ray me then and give me radiation. Then when it was gone, it went into remission. What they say, it went into remission for a year. Anyway,
So you mentioned the floor grown. Can we talk about that business for just
Sure.
a minute? So tell me about that business. What's the whole
well,
deal there?
Floor Grown applied for a license.
Okay.
Well, no, because you can't apply for a license.
Okay.
There is no application process for a license under the amendment. There's 14 or 15, maybe 20 licenses out there that were given to certain people under certain circumstances. That one of them is sold for $60 million.
Oh man, it's like those taxi medallions at the bar.
There's,
Liquor licenses, yeah.
There's people that have liquor license. I mean, have marijuana licenses, that dispensary license, MMTC licenses, actually, that have never grew any marijuana, have no expertise in marijuana, and are flipping licenses like they're gold. You know, so some of them just made 50, 60 million, have no
Sure.
investment in this damn thing. Floor Grown wants to go into the business. We want to really make a good one. I bought a 30,000 square foot facility over on Adamo Drive.
Okay.
We're in the process now of fitting it for growing,
Okay.
but not marijuana.
Okay.
When they legalized hemp, we decided to grow hemp, but not grow hemp. We want to grow hemp for seeds. We want to sell the seeds. The seeds are really expensive for hemp, the kind that you get your oil from. Not
So
the
you
kind,
can use the hemp for medicinal purposes.
right.
Okay.
So we want to grow that.
Right.
And we're working on that right now. We're going through the city of Tampa, getting our zoning and getting permits and getting all that. And they're pretty rough too. The city is being really conscientious. They want to know about the CO2, all the stuff we used to grow, and they have in the back of the mind that we want to grow marijuana illegally.
Right.
Well, that's not true. We're going to grow hemp because we see an opening here to make some really good money off of hemp.
Okay.
No one else is growing for seeds.
Why is that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
You can buy them in California. You can buy them in different places.
And you can
but
transfer them over state lines. There's no problems there or anything like that, or
hemp, yes.
okay.
It's federally legal.
Okay.
So we're
Going through the process. of
we're
it
going
all.
through the process, but we're telling the city we want to grow marijuana, of course, but we're not going to do it until we get a license. So we're framing this place for a legal business that can be switched right over to marijuana when we get our license. Right now, that licensing case for floor grown, we won in the lower court, we won in the appellate court, and we're in the the state appeal
Right now.
to the Supreme Court right now. It was kind of strange in the appellate court. We won, was it 5-4? No, it's 3 judges. What am I talking about? We won. All 3 said that the statute was under the amendment. The statute they wrote was unconstitutional.
Right.
2 of them said our injunction was valid. 1 of them said they shouldn't have given us, even though it was unconstitutional, they shouldn't have given us the injunction yet. The state asked for a rehearing in bank, and that's where every judge, and I think there's 13 to 16 judges on that court.
Right.
And a bunch of them disqualified themselves. The dampest thing you ever saw there.
Were they using or what was it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
They just disqualified
Right.
themselves. And then it was 4-4.
Wow.
4-4, which the lower decisions, the prior decision stays
Okay.
when it's a tie.
Okay.
So it went to the Supreme Court as a tie. And they asked the Supreme Court for review. The appellate court didn't wait for the state to appeal it. They asked the Supreme Court to
Is that where it's at now?
review it. It's in the Supreme Court of Florida, and we're supposed to get our first brief from the state tomorrow.
Oh wow, that'll be exciting. Interesting stuff. Well,
They say the same thing every time.
well, sure, yeah. Well, yeah, you don't get a lot of outside the box thinking, as you mentioned earlier. They're kind of creatures of habit, I think, is what you said. So it was great having you on. I would love to have you back on. I think we could talk about this stuff in depth if you'd be willing to come back on. But
So you can keep my train of thought straight.
I'll work on it, and I'll steer
You're
clear
doing a
of
good.
dates.
I tell you something. You're doing a hell of a job.
Well, I really appreciate it. It's so nice meeting you,
Because
and thank
most
you.
people can't. They get lost in my conversation.
Well,
with
it's all
me.
interesting to me, so I'm listening.
You
know,
are listening.
Yeah,
That's clear.
Yeah, no, I like to hear this stuff, and I think it's a big thing that you're doing. Do you have any other fights that you're involved in, or is this pretty much it?
Every day I'm going after Trump.
Yeah.
And his idiocy. Yeah. Just
How do you
every
think it's
day.
going to go next year? Do you think this Ukraine thing's got any legs, or do you think it's going to go the way of the Mueller report?
You know, this guy should resign, but he's a psychopath.
Right.
He has. I ask anybody, go look up the definition of psychopath. He has every indicator of a psychopath. Every single one.
Well, if you look up the definition of narcissist or narcissist,
Yeah, well, he has all them
he's
too.
going to be setting alarms off.
I
Right?
think narcissist is part of the
Yeah.
definition
Sure.
of.
But he's got his niche. He's got his 30-something% that
Can
just.
you imagine how ignorant they are?
Well, I just wonder what it's going to take, because I think
Ignorant. I don't mean stupid.
sure.
I mean they're not fully apprised of whether willfully or not willfully, or because they're stupid. They're not apprised of what's really going on. They don't understand.
Well, I see you got a Bernie sweatshirt on. Is that your guy?
Yes, he's been saying the same thing. The things that I would say or I like him saying, he's been saying it for 30 years. Same thing. He don't change. He doesn't put his finger up there in the wind to see which way it's
Wind's
blowing.
blowing, sure.
He says the way it's supposed to be.
Do you think he's got a shot? Now you got Bloomberg coming in, and
Bloomberg, I'm not, except for his money, and really, it is surprising how much money can sway people through advertising, and they kind of person that they see the most is the one they like. I don't know.
well, my fear, and I would be interested to hear your take on this, is I feel like the pendulum is swinging wildly back and forth now. I mean, I loved Obama, and now with Trump, it went all the way the other way. My fear is if it keeps swinging so wildly, it's just going to go right off the axis. So I've kind of jokingly said to people, I wish a moderate Republican would primary him and put him in just to slow it down so that we're not
They put
divided.
the Republicans queered that deal real quick.
Yeah. So
You know what they did, right?
no.
Some people that were running against Trump, the states where they were running
They
against
had
him,
no primary.
no
yeah.
primary.
No,
They
I
did
did
away
see
with the
that.
friggin' primary.
No, I saw that.
So You're a free country. You can't vote.
Sure. Yeah.
How you would be a free country if you can't vote? You think the Republicans are for freedom?
Yeah.
Forget it.
Yeah.
Every state where they control, they have gerrymandered. There's no one person, one vote in their states.
So what do you think it's looking like next year? Do you think he's going to get a second term, or?
I just, I didn't think he was going to get elected in the first
I know.
place.
Any metric by which I could predict things, I kind of
So
wouldn't.
yeah, oh boy, I am scared to death. Listen, this guy is attacking the two of the bastions of freedom, and they are a free press and an independent judiciary. And he is attacking relentlessly every single day. And he has other people attacking them every day. When a free press goes and an independent judiciary goes, we're no different than those people in Turkey. We're no different than those people in Russia. We're no different from those people in Saudi Arabia. And that's exactly where he wants to go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Do you think it's him or people behind him?
It's him and that Stephen Miller, that Nazi.
Oh my God, yeah. Because I don't peg him for being smart enough to figure all this out. I feel like he's just kind of the
He has a memory. He's got this stuff in his head. That's
Sure.
what he thinks, and that's what he says. And he has his people that fortify him. What do you call that?
support him, vote for him. Yeah. Well, anyway, I appreciate you coming in, and hopefully it was enjoyable for you, and you'll consider coming back sometime.
I love it.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you,
Anytime.
Joe.
You're welcome.
All right. Take care.